Hello, everybody. This is the Representation Executive Council. My name is Pierre Shardolf. I'm the president. This is Yasmin Ahmed. She's the vice president academic, who represents you on all affairs relating to academics within the classroom and academic policy here at MRU. Then we have Rachel Timmermans. She's the vice president external as well as the Council of Alberta University Students chair, and she represents you on all matters for government representation, so all levels of government, to the media and to the public. And then we have Joseph Nguyen here. He's the Vice President Student Affairs, and he represents you on all affairs here at Mount Royal, relating to things like counseling services for residents, all things that are non-academic here at Mount Royal. It's been an incredibly extraordinary year and a half for everyone, and that includes us, your SAMRU Representation Executive Council. When the pandemic was declared, any priorities we had were overtaken by new ones that focused on helping support students through the rapid changes and new anxieties they were facing. A few of our notable academic advocacy wins included things like ending invasive online proctoring for exams, extending the withdrawal date to the end of classes, and more recently, providing students with alternatives this semester by getting MRU to provide a rapid testing process for those who don't yet have proof of vaccination. Extending the drop date as well as another advocacy one that we had, specifically for classes by 2 weeks. So the drop date for classes is at the end of this month on September 30th. It's important for you to know that after examining survey data from SAMRU, MRU, and from our federal student lobby groups, our priority has been that it is in the best interest of students to have the option to be in person, because as users, students pay for facilities, supports, resources, and a student experience that can only be experienced in person. The other is that safety is a priority for students, but any safe way to have students in person should be prioritized. So finding advocacy solutions that prioritize in-person and safety has not been an easy task for SAMRU, for my team here. But all in all, we're really happy that we're all back together here on campus. We've spent many hours in meetings with MRU administrators and faculty to ensure student needs were being considered in any decision that impacted us. We continue to advocate for students' best interests locally, provincially, and federally, including participating in the Alberta 2030 plan that was presented by the Ministry of Advanced Education. We've done our best to be available to you, our members, by holding regular online events. Some of you might remember the Tea with Rec we were holding last term, as well as during the summer, as well as providing updates on social media and on our website at samru.ca, and trying new and fun things to connect students with some of the key people that we work with, such as a new series that we have called Tea and Talk, so look out on the website for the first episode of that. We're holding this town hall today mainly because we've been hit with tougher restrictions once again, and student anxiety levels are going up. We are going to spend the first 30 to 40 minutes answering questions that have already been asked. We received some lengthy questions with a lot of background information and a few questions asking for similar things. So in the interest of time, we have condensed those questions down to the essence of what those students were asking. The Google question submission form will remain active. So if you have any new questions at all to ask, please use that form and we will try to get to them during this Q&A. Please pose your questions respectfully. Any rude or trollish comments will be removed and those accounts will be blocked for the remaining discussion. The website address is samru.ca/askrec. So that's ASKREC. So yeah, let's get started, folks.
Thank you for starting us off, Spirit. So the first question we have is, will the drop date extension affect the refunds that are sent to students?
That's a good question. In a typical year, refunds start being distributed about 2 weeks after the fee deadline. Because the drop and fee deadline was extended by about 2 weeks, there may be a 2-week delay in refunds being distributed. But if you are a student who is facing financial hardship, you are able to contact the registrar to receive your refund sooner. And for our next question, this student asked, can professors change the course delivery format at any time? Or will things remain in person for the rest of the semester?
So I can answer that. No, professors do not have this option. Courses are expected to follow their course outline. If they're in person, they continue to be in person. And if they're online, they continue to be online. There is a possibility that an in-person course may switch briefly online, for example, if your professor becomes ill. So how is MRU keeping students accountable for their proof of vaccinations?
I can answer that one. So how is MRU keeping students accountable for their proof of vaccinations? Well, as of October 4th, there will no longer be an honor system. With the new government restrictions, you must provide proof of vaccination or proof of rapid testing every 72 hours. The MRU Now app, as many of you know, I think we got the notification today, right?
Yeah.
So very recently, the MRU Now app will be the primary way that MRU is enforcing proof of vaccinations. More information is to come. The update was literally today, so we still have lots to figure out with the whole proof of vaccinations in MRU Now app. Yeah. So the next question we have is, a few students have asked what our question is in light of MRU's plan to mandate vaccination to be on campus, and how we are advocating for students who do not have or do not want to show proof of vaccination. Spirit, do you have anything for that?
Yeah, so I think it's really important to understand that, positions such as the ones that we have here at the Student Association, they do evolve when new information and evidence becomes available. I think one really important one was that we just really didn't know what the percentage of vaccinations among students was going to look like once we came to school. But the primary objective is for MRU to continue offering in-person classes while keeping students safe. And I mentioned that at the beginning of our little talk here.
Yeah.
We still believe that it is the best delivery format for the large majority of MRU students. And like I mentioned, this is based off of a lot of evidence that we've collected and surveyed from students. Proof of vaccination is becoming the norm. So this is really kind of out of our hands at this point. But the fact, again, like I mentioned, the fact that we're in person makes me really happy. Our rep position hasn't changed. No student should be denied their education. And that was our key position, was that, when it comes to mandatory vaccinations, we represent students. So it's really important that students aren't denied their education. MRU knows that this is our position, but as I mentioned, things have become increasingly more complex as literally the day goes by. It seems like a change happens almost every day. Mm-hmm. So the first part of our advocacy around this was that we wanted, we want the rapid testing as an option. But as we continue to go in, our main priority right now for advocacy is to pay for rapid testing, to have rapid testing payable from students instead of being offered from the university, and have that extended into the winter semester. And that is how it'll be, I believe, after November 1st. That's correct, right? November 1st?
Yeah, after November 1st, students are required to purchase their own rapid tests, yes.
And so, we had a lot of conversations with the administration about that, but really clearly, what it came down to it is the ministries, so the provincial government, basically explained how they're not so happy with post-secondary institutions like Mount Royal spending taxpayer money on rapid tests. And I think that's really important. A lot of students, your education isn't just paid by your tuition. Your education is also, because MRU, excuse me, is a publicly funded institution, a lot of taxpayer money of Alberta is part of what funds the institution. And so the ministry is not interested in essentially taxpayers paying for rapid testing. Mm-hmm. So we're still talking to them about that option, but we'll have more updates for you later on. The other option for advocacy on this point was that, once January 1st comes and folks that, are not vaccinated, we want to help make any kind of transition for you easy and understandable, as well as advocate for leniency for your situation as well. There's online schools that exist in the province, like our friends over at Advocacy, and we have some great friends over there at their student union. But the other things that we'll be looking at is that any required classes at MRU, in order to graduate from MRU, that maybe there can be some more leniency there in terms of, ensuring that you can in fact graduate from MRU if, for example, you take off the winter semester and that affects your education. The other one is maybe looking at how, I know that there's required time to complete a degree at MRU. And if you do decide to take the winter semester off, we'll make sure that there is that leniency and understanding, because we are in really interesting times.
Yeah. So some students have asked about the uncertainty of in-person classes and if it's going to continue, or whether it should maybe just be better to be online, or for us to even advocate for a hybrid delivery.
Yeah, so I think that's a really interesting question. That we've talked to the administration about hybrid options for every class. And I think that's another really important part that I hope we can communicate to students right now. Is like, we have multiple different ideas, and we talk to them with the administration on a weekly basis, on almost every day, every other day, we're meeting with someone from the administration. And so we've posed all sorts of different ideas. Hybrid options for classes was one thing that we looked into. And I think the one interesting thing about this question is that I think, when we're talking about hybrid options for classes, are we talking about a class that has the option to be both online and in person, like for the same class? Or when we say hybrid, are we talking about, 50% of MRU classes being online, 50% being in person? For that first one about, kind of this hybrid within the classroom, the one issue that we have with that, the institution is looking into that, but the difficulty is that there's just not the proper technical infrastructure to support something like that. So that was interesting information to hear, and we'll continue to hear what other innovative solutions come about regarding that idea. If you mean hybrid classes in the sense of like, every section having an online option, that is something that's been explored. The one thing that I think we feel here at SAMRU as well at MRU is that Mount Royal is an in-person school. And a lot of the value derived from Mount Royal is receiving an in-person education. And so as of right now, our team at SAMRU, and so SAMRU in itself, agrees to the kind of 20-80 ratio, about 20% online and about 80% in person.
All right, for this next student, they are worried about their personal safety in situations where other students are not masking or maintaining a 2-meter distance. And they also note that there aren't as many places to study on campus. They are asking if MRU can enforce the regulations or provide the option of going online until case numbers go down.
So that was a long question. But from what I've got from that, there's mainly two principles from that question. The first one is there aren't that many spots or spaces to study on campus. As compared to before COVID to now, there are two places, new places that we can study at. The first place is called G100. It's also known as the Old Library, and is how MRU describes it, right across from the MRU bookstore. And the second place is called Ross Glen Hall, and that is in the EC building, I believe, for those who don't know it. And these two spots have been designed throughout the past few months for students to study. So if you haven't been there, please go there, check it out. And I think we have loads of space to study. We have like an abundance amount of space there.
Yeah. We also have our student center in Wickham House.
Exactly, that too. Yeah, upstairs in the food court upstairs, there's a new space. I believe the carpet just got done.
The carpets, they look really cool.
They look amazing. Yeah, and that's the space you can study as well. The second principle of the question was about enforcement and COVID regulation enforcement. What is MRU doing? Well, the first thing is with security. Security will tell people to put on their masks if they aren't. So security, they're not just laying around doing nothing. They are watching, and they're being, I think the word is vigilant, on these different, on people who aren't following the rules. And what security is also doing is, if you've been to the library recently, you probably would have heard this like annoying broadcast, like, oh, put on your mask. That's security. That's another source of enforcement. And so security is using broadcasting systems to remind people to wear masks. And based on our reports from faculty, security, and staff, they're generally saying that mask compliance has been good. Emphasis on the word generally, because of course there are a few incidents where people have not, but then generally it has been very well. That's all.
So we're done right now with some of the questions that we got in advance. So we kind of cheated a little bit. We had some notes ready for you related to those questions. We do have some coming in now. And yeah, Yasmin, want to start us off on some of these ones that are coming in?
Yeah, so our first question that we have is, has SAMRU connected with MRU in order to find ways to make social distancing possible for in-person classes? Many classes are near room capacity, almost like COVID wasn't an issue.
Yeah, I think me and Rachel could probably talk a bit about this because this is from the government actually. So one thing, like you all probably remember the really scary day was it Wednesday night when the restriction program came out?
6 p.m. Wednesday.
I know. I was like on the phone texting and calling the administration of MRU, like, what does this mean for students? And I know students were really nervous about that as well. But since then, there has been more clarification from the Ministry of Advanced Education when it comes to universities. Specifically, that learning environments with post-secondary institutions like Mount Royal are exempt from the restriction of social distancing in specific learning environments. So that's like classrooms and laboratories. Am I missing anything, Rachel?
No, you hit it on the mark. Yeah, to help facilitate in-person learning, I think that the government gave exceptions, knowing that all universities are putting safety measures in place. And so currently, per the government and MRU, there is no requirement to social distance for in-person classes.
I think the one thing I'd add to that too is that this kind of talks about like the issue with prioritizing in-person and safety, that to be in person means that we do need to have some of these more stringent safety measures in place, such as what the institution of Mount Royal was practicing already before the government came out with their program, which was a vaccination, essentially a vaccination mandate. And if you didn't do that, then you would have to start doing rapid testing. And so those types of means of ensuring safety are kind of one of those ways to help us ensure that we can be in fact in person. So I can get that it is concerning, but especially right now with all the emails you're getting from the administration from Mount Royal, like please go and check your emails, because that's what I think the big thing I have anxiety about is like, there's all like action now, please go, declare vaccination. And if you haven't, like, I don't want you to get deregistered from your classes. Please go and check your emails and fulfill the actions that are needed requiring for a vaccination and for your rapid testing. But because if we can do that, then we can ensure that the students that we're surrounded by in class are in fact vaccinated, and that we're doing everything we possibly can to keep each other safe and to also continue to have an in-person delivery system.
Yeah.
I'm just looking here for our next question from our wonderful communications team. Also, I just want to quickly give a big kudos to our wonderful communications department here at SAMRU. Like, look at this. Isn't this cool?
Yeah.
Like, I thought that this was like, when I walked in, I was like, I was expecting like a phone,
Yeah, like
actually like
iPhone
a
6.
tripod. Yeah, so this is like I feel way too important.
They're pretty amazing.
Yeah. Just doing a quick check over our communications. Do we have another question? We don't have any other questions, so that is what we had.
Sweet.
Okay, well, and I think the other important thing is that we did have a lot of questions that came in, but our communications team is just really brilliant, and so they were able to kind of summarize the questions that we had and find the patterns of what was being asked repeatedly. So which has been really, really good. We do have one thing coming up here on my screen. What other advocacy issues are we dealing with? Yeah, why not? Why not talk a little bit about what we're up to? I know one thing, unless you folks have something at the top of your heads. I know we have like our rec goals. So like one part of our job is to represent students on emerging issues that arise like COVID, right? So any kind of emerging issue, we're there to offer the student perspective and the student voice and to advocate for student success. But the other really cool thing that we get to do as elected student representatives is that we get to kind of think like, what do we want to see changed at MRU? And so we all kind of have like our own kind of rec goal and like something that we're concerned about. So it's not an emerging issue, but it's like an issue that we want to take on as kind of a project. So they're basically projects. The one that I'm taking on that I was really concerned about after we had surveyed some students during the COVID membership check-in is that Indigenous students were really struggling with financial insecurity. And so we were looking at, so one thing I want to look at is see what some of those gaps are. Yeah, do you folks want to talk a little bit about your rec goals or something you're working on?
Yeah, I can speak to a bit about my rec goal. So for me, I think it's very important that all students have access to a higher education, no matter the socioeconomic background they come from. And I think that a lot of our courses here and classes here at Mount Royal University already make it a bit more accessible for students to obtain that education. So my rec goal is to make it so that when students are registering for classes and they're looking up their course add-ons, where it says a prerequisite is needed, or if you're in the bachelor program of science, you can access this classroom, it also says no textbooks required, because a lot of professors already offer this option. And I feel like it would make it so that students who maybe couldn't afford school that semester or to take these certain classes, they might feel more inclined to do so. So my rec goal is to maybe have the Office of Registrar do that this year or next in the future.
That'd be really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been actively working on my rec goal the past few weeks. My rec goal, or one of my rec goals, is to essentially just to better market and promote career services. Generally when students are in the first year, they become the first year, they're nervous and have anxiety, whatnot, and then they see the term career services, they think, oh, career services, that's like a fourth year thing, that's a postgraduate thing, I don't need to worry about that until later. But fun fact, career services doesn't just help fourth years and graduates, but it helps first, second, third, fourth, like wherever you are in your university journey, like we are there for you, they are there for you. And it's not just career, it's more like work integrated learning. That's a fancy term that just means like helping you find practicums and internships and whatnot, and employment as well. Like if you look, there's a huge job bank on career services. If you're looking for part-time job, full-time job, seasonal job, contract job, whether it's a job related to your like studies or whether it's your typical Dairy Queen job, then the career services, they got you. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, just advocating for minor changes, especially in the language of career services. I'm advocating to actually change the name for career services to something like employment services or professional development services, just because
fundamental career, and then you think like, I'm in school to get to my career. Why would I need to go there now?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, especially in your like first day of school or first week of school, right? Yeah, I have a few mentees, and they were looking for jobs, and then in their first years, and I'm like, oh, like a career services, and then guess what they said? Oh, but career services is not for. Yeah, so language. That's up.
It always gets you, hey.
Yeah.
For my goal has been a little bit more externally focused as I am in the external position.
No way.
I think so, I'm pretty sure. And so as the chair of the Council of Alberta University Students, I've been looking at how we can improve advocacy on the provincial level across all of the universities that CAUSE represents. And so I've been looking at updating our strategic plan, updating our training and transition process to make sure that every representative across the province is as prepared and ready as they can be to advocate for all of you to every level of government. So making sure that, our provincial advocacy is as strong as it can be. I know that we've been taking some hits over the last few years, and I want to make sure that we're able to push back.
I just want to say one thing about Rachel, though. Like, she has been working her butt off. As chair, too, of CAUSE, like, a ton of work there. So big kudos to Rachel. But one thing I want to say is that we were supposed to have a federal debate here at Wickham House. We had all of the districts basically ready to come and have a really awesome debate. And it was like the day after Jason Kenney and his government came out with the new restriction program. And Rachel's like, what do I do? I'm supposed to have like all the invitations are out. We have a moderator. And I was like, Rachel, we're going to have to cancel.
It fueled her to keep advocating, though.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
But we do have another debate coming up because another thing to keep Rachel busy is that we did have the federal election, but now we have the municipal election coming up, which is pretty exciting. So we're going to have a forum there. I don't know if you have any things you want to say about that at all.
Yeah, we're getting really excited for the municipal election. I guess just some general updates. We will be having a Ward 8 candidates forum on October 5th. And this is Ward 8 is the city ward that Mount Royal exists in. And so we'll be having lots of candidates out to answer student questions and kind of talk to you guys about why it's important that you be engaged at a municipal level. Why it's important for you to pay attention to this municipal election is most people don't realize, but the municipal government actually has the most direct control over things that you deal with in your day-to-day. So you may not think about it, but like if you're getting frustrated about road construction on the way to school, or you're upset about how many transfers you need to take the bus here, or maybe you just can't find anywhere affordable to rent. That's all issues that your city government deals with. And that's the issues that our Ward 8 candidates will be coming on October 5th to answer questions about. I really encourage you to come out to our forum on October 5th, because on the 6th and 7th, the 2 days afterwards, any student, staff, or faculty is able to vote in the municipal election on October 6th and 7th. We have Vote Anywhere polls here in Wickham. And so we do want to make sure that you come out to our candidates forum on the 5th so that you are informed to vote on the 6th and 7th. But yeah, that's all I have from me. Spirit, did you want to take it away?
Yeah, so I don't know. I think we're pretty much wrapping up here. I just want to quickly do one last kudos to this amazing group of three right in front of you right now. This is not the year that we were anticipating to have. And I just want to say, like, I think some students are like, what are my representatives doing? And we're realizing that, and SAMRU is going to work really hard to make sure that we can let you know what we're up to and who we're advocating to, and so you could see that, yes, your student money that comes to SAMRU is being spent very properly and very effectively for US students. But I have to say, like, my team, and I'm a two-term president, one thing I'd like to brag about a little bit, and in my term and all of the work that we've had to do, my team has my absolute full confidence. They've done an incredibly awesome job. And I'm also just really, I call them my student delegated friends, because you elected us, and so we were forced to work together, but I'm so glad that, we got to work with these amazing human beings.
Well,
so.
we feel the same towards you.
Oh, thank you so much.
Yeah.
We wouldn't be here without you leading us.
Thank you so much.
This tea gives you like a good bang for your buck.
Yeah.
Basically, yeah.
Okay, so it looks like we're done with all of the questions and with our town hall here today. Before we leave you, I want to leave you with a quote from everyone's favorite social worker researcher, Brene Brown. It's a quote that I've been sharing with a lot of students, like during news and orientation and so forth. So it goes like this: true belonging is the spiritual practice of believing in and belonging to yourself so deeply that you can share your most authentic self with the world and find sacredness in both being a part of something and standing alone in the wilderness. University is designed to be stressful. Because it's supposed to be stressful. It's to prepare us for our careers and for the rest of our lives. And when you choose MRU, you choose a community. And right now, with all of the shifting changes, you might feel a bit vulnerable. And that's a big reason why we want to have this town hall for you today. But just know that your student association is here for you to represent and serve you to help you succeed. So thank you for joining us here today. So see you, everybody.
Thank you.